3, 2, 1, go.
Hello. Ignacy Cipczek, Portal Games.
And this is Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of Gaming. Board Games Insider, episode 177, and we're recording it on January 10th, 2021, a new year, after our little bit of a hiatus there. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And my New Year's resolution for 2021 is to be nice to Tom Vassell. Ignacy, do you think I can keep that resolution? What do you think?
That was my first question. Did you already broke your resolution?
I've already broke the resolution, but I wasn't really going to try. I did Board Games Breakfast this week, and Tom wasn't there. I'll tell you why he wasn't there if you didn't watch it in a little while. So, of course, while the cat's away, the mice will play, and we were ragging on Tom constantly, Z and Mike Delisio and myself. It was great time. But we're back from the holidays, and this is really cool. I mean, it was nice. It was nice taking a couple of weeks off from, having to be here, even though, I do love doing this. But the holidays were wonderful. I mean, even though didn't see family as much as we'd want to. I don't know about on your side. Did you get to see anybody outside of your, normal circles?
My kids get back from the college, etc., back home after 1 week with them. I'm happy they're at the college, so I was saying, okay, goodbye, go away, I don't miss you. So yes, I'm in the classic holiday mood. I'm happy it's done.
Yeah. The good Slavic Ignacy. But there's a lot of good news happening over at Portal Games, so why don't you tell us about that? I was looking at this news. This looks really cool.
This week we announced PortalCon. Our listeners who listen to the podcast for many years recognize that every January at the beginning of the year, Portal Games is doing a fancy keynotes in which I announce all the titles for upcoming year. And this is the same situation this year. Of course, we are living still in the COVID era, so it will be only virtual. But for you listeners from America and Europe, it is quite a good news because you will be able to attend the event. We are streaming on Twitch and on YouTube. We are doing it on January 23rd. At 9 a.m. Eastern time. This is the name, yes?
Yeah.
EST.
Yeah.
And well, I want to invite every listener of Portal Games, Board Games Insider. New games announced, new expansions announced. Ignacy once again doing his show with presentations and trailers and all these fancy effects. So we are preparing right now for the event. We will have 2 keynotes. One keynote in the morning Polish time about our Polish licenses. So this is not interesting for you, but we will do, of course, for our Polish fans. And then afternoon Polish time, this is 9 a.m. Eastern time. We do it in English for you on our English YouTube channel and Twitch channel. And I will announce, as I said, the new titles, new games, new expansions. So I hope all the fans who love Detective, who love Robinson Crusoe will be excited with the new things. And I will be, of course, mentioning this PortalCon also in upcoming episode and the next episode until 23rd hits the calendar. So this is the news of the week, very important for us. Weeks of preparation, and we've all these covers and trailers, etc.
Where can they watch this?
You can watch it on the YouTube channel for Portal Games. You can watch it on Twitch channel for Portal Games.
Awesome.
And of course, you can go to portalcon.pl, the website for the event. You can get the free ticket, and if you get the free ticket, you will get all these access, etc. So
starts at 9 a.m. How long? 9 a.m. Eastern. How long does it go, give or take?
Man, you're well. You ask the good questions.
I'm an investigative reporter, as we found out this year. I'm really good at this. I want to know. I'm putting it in my calendar. Literally right now, I'm typing this into my calendar.
I would hire you in my marketing team because you have good questions.
I'm too expensive for you.
It may be true. The keynotes takes about half an hour, 30 minutes, very intense, new title, excitement. Everybody is clapping or in YouTube, giving a thumbs up. So this is the main part of the keynotes, 9 a.m. Eastern time for the half an hour. And then for the next 4 hours, we have following up events like Q&A with me, when fans can ask me questions. Then we have a unique gameplay of one of the products that we are going to announce to show it already to the fans. So 4 hours of content, but the one thing that I want everybody to be is the keynotes 9 a.m. for half an hour.
Very cool.
Pre-orders section of the podcast is Vienna Connection. I mentioned this many times in the podcast when I was designing the game. It's a spy game. You are going to be a spy in Europe during the Cold War era, and you are going to challenge Soviet agents and trying to stop their plan. And we are starting a very unique pre-order campaign. The campaign, believe it or not, inspired by Steven and what he was doing with his Kickstarter when he was still working at Stronghold Games. So we are going for the daily updates. There was something that you did for Egizia, I remember, and I was making the notes. Yep. So what is this? We are doing pre-orders on our website. You can go to portalgames.pl and see the campaign. But every single day, there will be a small update for the campaign with either additional promo, additional bonus, additional tile, etc., etc. I think it was a great idea to interact with the fans, to surprise them, to get them engaged to the product. So this is what we are doing for Vienna Connection for 4 weeks. Every single day we have update. I was working for this for the past few weeks. 26 updates, 26 unique updates for the campaign, Vienna Connection spy game. So I will be mentioning this campaign for many weeks.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a really great way to engage, and every day you kind of unlock or show somebody something new each time. I take 0 credit for coming up with that idea, by the way. 0 credit. So thank you very much.
But I remember that for the first time it struck me at a Giza campaign. I don't know if it was your first campaign, but I remember a Giza everyday update.
Did it with a Giza, we did it with Terraforming Mars Big Box, but yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's a really good way of keeping their eyeballs on the stuff.
So Vienna Connection on pre-order right now at Portal Games website, and hopefully you see these news updates in the internet as you're listening to the podcast. Upcoming street dates, nothing in January. In February, we will have a Kickstarter campaign for Robinson Crusoe. I will mention this in upcoming weeks wider. And what's happening at HQ, what's happening at Portal Games, preparation for Portal. We announced a ton of titles, all these covers, all these trailers, demos, a ton of work. So this was happening at the headquarters. And video of the week, because it's a new year. You are just listening to the first episode of Board Game Insider this year. And I already also started my vlog on my YouTube channel. And the first video was the top 10 news of 2020, in my opinion, the most important, the crucial news, industry news of the year. So if you're into business side of the hobby, if you're interested in this segment, and I hope you are because you're listening to our podcast, you can check out my video, top 10 industry news of 2020.
Excellent. And over here at the Podfather of Gaming, like
energy.
You want me more energy? Okay.
No, I have energy. You always have energy.
Yeah, there we go. Excellent. Over here with the Podfather, we are. I took a definitely vacation, relaxation. I did a lot of nothing, and I was happy doing a lot of nothing over the holidays. But some of the things that I have done is that I set up. It's just going to be finished today physically, but by the time you hear this, a new group at the Podfather of Gaming Facebook page, because it's hard for people to actually engage on a page. So I took the cue from Tom Vassell and probably Ignacy. I think you do it too. So we have a group now. It's going to have associated with the Podfather of Gaming page. So now you're going to see us putting stuff up, pictures and things like that. And of course, I'd love people out there who are fans to put things up there as well. And you have to join the group, but another click and you join. I'll send out a notice to all of my Facebook friends, but anybody, of course, can go over there and join the Podfather of Gaming group, which is part of the Podfather of Gaming page. So that'll be happening this week. I've received some really cool stuff in the mail from industry friends, and it's so nice. Look, I'm not asking people to send me things, but if they do, I'm going to give them a shout out because it's so nice. So I had mentioned here, I think it was here, that I really like light war games, like Memoir 44. I think it's a phenomenal design, and just, it's a game that's not going to tax your head and make you restudy all the rules every time you have to play it. It's so intuitive and easy, but it's fun, and it gives you that great war game feel and dice throwing and conquering areas and things like that. So Kevin Bertram sent me over. That's upside down. There we go. The Shores of Tripoli, designed by Kevin Bertram. Obviously set in that era of sailing. And it comes with 80 wooden ships, 24 dice, a mounted map, and a crap ton of cards. It really looks really beautiful, and you can order it over at his website, if not other places. FortCircle.com. The name of his company is Fort Circle Games. So FortCircle.com. Thank you, Kevin, for this.
Kevin, where is my copy of this game?
No,
Hello, hello.
No, you
Kevin.
don't get one.
Hello.
Oh, don't start begging, Ignacy. But anyway, if anybody out there wants to check this out, it looks really nice. I can't wait to get it to the table. News of the week, news and photos. Put them together. The news: Melody Vassal, Tom's eldest daughter, got married yesterday. And I'm so excited for Tom. See, I am being nice to Tom. I cannot be mean to Tom at this time. And if you want to see pictures of the lovely bride with Tom giving her away, it's a lovely pictures that I did post at the Podfather Gaming, so you can go check that out. Tom looks very nervous. Melody has a smile like bigger than her face, and Tom looks like he's like scared almost. It's kind of interesting, but he was. I spoke to him before the wedding. I was not there, but all the pictures were posted, so I reposted them. And I saw him. Spoke to him before that, and he was like, "Yeah, marriage, very expensive." So that was the part that he was not exactly happy about. Obviously, there are certain costs associated when you're giving your daughter away.
Don't be afraid. As you are listening to the podcast, the Dice Tower has a Kickstarter campaign, so Tom will be fine.
I hope so. And that's a really good thing. We really should immediately, because this is gonna. The day that this drops, is it the day this drops? The day
I think the campaign starts the day before. Yeah.
That this drops. So when you hear this, go over to Kickstarter, please, everybody listening to this, please go to Kickstarter, search for the Dice Towers Kickstarter, and back it. Back it for if you have nothing, you're strapped, back it for $1. If you want to back it at a level, Tom will be sending you some stuff. That's great. What he does for this industry is so important. So please go over there and check it out at least, and follow it and see what comes up, and see what you can get for a donation to that.
You can get the promos for Robinson Crusoe. So check this out.
Absolutely. Isn't that great? So please do. All right, Ignacy, let's go to the news and the event deck. So more things happening over at Gamma with the Origins Awards. And this time, the RPG categories for the awards are changing. We had previously mentioned that the board game or the gaming categories are changing, board game categories and card game categories. Now it's the RPG categories. The categories for role-playing games in the Origins Awards have changed. Academy of Adventure Games, Arts and Design parent Gamma is announcing today. This change was made, quote, based on feedback and input from the RPG jury and publishers, unquote, Gamma Executive Director John Stacy explained. So the categories are long, so I won't go into every one, but in general, role-playing game, core rule set, supplement, adventures, those are the specific role. Okay, so that is it. Those are the three for the role-playing games. I apologize. Then they showed the rest of the awards, which we talked about already. It's like board game family, board game general, board game historical, etc. There's also miniature game categories. So we went through this. Ignacy and I have different opinions on this. I think that for this award, it's better that they do it this way, that they have more people that can win, and you can spread out these awards. I know that truly the impact is with the Spiel, right? The Spiel des Jahres award, and they have 3 awards, and they're very specific. But I think that this is a good idea for Origins to do this. All right, Ignacy, same opinion. I assume you do not like this, right?
With role-playing games, it is even more complex, in my opinion, because how much Dungeons and Dragons is popular in America, and then the second place for the Pathfinder. These games are so hugely better selling than everything else that giving the best role-playing game for some indie role-playing game that will be released during the year it will have zero impact on the sales of Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder that are selling like crazy. So of course we appreciate new designers, we appreciate indie role-playing games. I myself designed 2 role-playing games, so I fully understand. But if this is award from the game industry organization Gamma, it will not help stores to make a better business. And for the supplements, it's very difficult. Like for each role-playing game on the market, there is like dozen of supplements released. So we are talking about the hundreds of products, and now to choose the one that is best, Ignacy is skeptical. He's always skeptical. I will fight it. I will try to be better, but I would expect the more interesting news from Gamma.
Okay, you will. You'll probably get it soon. Some controversy. So here's some bad news. Some bad news for a specific company, and that's our friends over at Ares Games, a company that I think kills it, knocks it out of the park. I love Ares Games over in Italy. They are losing the Battlestar Galactica license. Starship Battles, which is the game that they produce under that license, the game license is going to end, and they're very sorry to announce that this game, combat miniature game, is going to be discontinued due to the end of the license agreement with Universal Brand Development. The contract is due to expire on December 31st. It has expired, and all negotiations to extend it failed to reach a satisfactory outcome. Worst news is that the expansion Faster Than Light and additional counter set announced for early 2021 will be released only as a free downloadable PDF, and no further models will be released. Sales of existing inventory will continue until June 30th, 2021. So I spoke about this with the guys over on Board Game Breakfast, and I went on for a while, but I'm gonna talk about it again. This is a great example of when you are working with an IP, someone else's IP, and it happens, of course, in this case, to be a very big IP, a very powerful one, owned by a company that, doesn't understand our market, of course, at all. They just want to sell the IP to somebody, licenses. When you're doing that, you are really at their mercy, unless, and even sometimes, even if you have a very good contract. So I fear that Ares Games didn't have a particularly good contract that they were working with for this. In other words, a good contract would say that they're allowed to continue the license forever as long as they meet certain minimum criteria, or at least for several years until they have planned out all these things. So obviously they had something that said it's a 2-year contract or a 4-year, whatever it was, period, and it ends. And then they had to try to renegotiate it, even though they had done all this development work. So it's a big blow to a small company that they're getting this yanked out from underneath them. But anybody out there who has a publishing company and ever goes into this kind of thing where they get some big IP or any IP, make sure that you have sort of a minimum levels that which this will auto renew. Like, you're paying in licensing fees, you're paying them $20,000 a year, something, which I'm sure that Ares Games was paying them a decent amount of money year over year just on their current sales. It obviously didn't matter. They just said, well, no, we're going to take this back and we'll do something else next time with some more people. So very sad for Ares, because I like these guys quite a bit.
Yeah, and absolutely, we discussed this in a previous episodes when people were asking about Battlestar Galactica, the board game, and it is once again the same case. You create a great board game, you have this IP, the game sells nicely, and then the contract is over, and you cannot do anything with this IP. So on one hand, I don't have, as a Portal Games, we don't have, Game of Thrones, or we don't have a Star Wars license, but I have a Robinson Crusoe, and I can do it forever. It is always a balance. On one hand, the IP gives you the better sales, but there is this time limit unless you have a very, very smart contract that allows you to make it longer and longer.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You mentioned Battlestar Galactica, the board game, too, right?
Yeah, it was the same case with FFG, right?
Basically the same case. Though we don't, I doubt that they had further development. It's development going on past what they already had. They just, the license was gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
There's a difference there that the small company actually developed 2 more expansions,
Yep.
and that just gets thrown in the garbage now. Well, basically they give it away for free now to their
Yep.
fans, which is very nice, but that hurts them financially. And if you think about it, Fantasy Flight / Asmodee must have had a pretty darn good contract. They've got great lawyers there, and they still got hurt by not having certain things in the contract, so they were able to extend it. Because I'm sure they would like to be selling the game right now, especially since that expansion, some of those expansions that I have are now worth hundreds of dollars.
Yep.
Because you can't get them.
The same with the Chaos in the Old World from Eric Lang. Like the list is quite long with all these games that were done on IP. Contract is over, and they become very expensive on eBay.
Right. So here's an interesting one. A nonprofit organization has been created to enhance educational and community programs. It's called Tabletop Alliance. Bruce Brown, Joshua Irighausen, and Mary Fox Marsden have founded a new nonprofit organization, Tabletop Alliance, not particularly descriptive there, that focuses on using games in education. This new nonprofit organization is focused on enhancing educational and community programs through tabletop gaming. Its goal is to empower the leaders of these communities with the capability of using games to facilitate learning, skill development, creativity, community building, and to make an overall positive impact on others. Co-founder and president Bruce Brown had the following to say about their organization. Tabletop Alliance combines our educational lens and gaming experience towards positive outcome for others, said Brown of the new nonprofit. So I like this a lot, that they're going to create this means of getting games, and it's a nonprofit, not trying to make any money on this, of getting games more not only into education but into community programs. This is great stuff. Now, there's no details on how they're doing this whatsoever, so I hope it's not just they throw it out there and then it dies. But this is this kind of grassroots kind of thing really helps the long-term viability of our small industry.
Yeah, in Poland, we at Portal Games for years we try to educate about tabletop gaming with the teachers, with the schools, and of course this ongoing mission that will take years to finalize. On one hand, you want to meet with the teachers and convince them that the games can be a great tool to educate. Then these teachers have to contact with their chiefs to order these games for the schools. Like this is like a chain of command and problems. But definitely, the first thing we need is that teachers understand that playing a Fuse from Renegade games, for example, a great game that teaches mathematics, or playing any cooperative game that teaches kids how to cooperate. Yes, games are amazing to help kids learn something, but it is a very difficult task to make it as a educational tool, official one for the schools.
Why virtual conventions fail. Now, this is a really interesting topic and a very interesting article that was written by Jeff Tidball of Atlas Games, former member of the board of directors of Gamma. And he wrote an article, and it was reprinted on Board Game Geek. And I highly recommend people going over there and looking for it. You can just go onto the main. It was published on December 19th. You can go over to the news section and find it. Why virtual conventions fail is the title of this, and he postulates that the reason that virtual conventions are failing in general, they're not giving you much of the experience that you want, is that, and let me read this quote, virtual conventions are relatively sad reflections of the real deal. They don't transcend everyday life because they happened in the exact same places and they use the exact same tools as everyday life. And he continues to discuss it in that when you go to a convention, when Ignacy, you're at a convention, or I'm at a convention, or the general gamers there, we're in a different bubble. We're in a completely different space. And that space puts us someplace that a virtual convention can't do, or they haven't been able to do, at least. Let's put it that way, right? We go there, and as a publishers, we have a different goal than a gamer, but the gamer goes there and they're in this bubble of the city that they're in, and a smaller one of that exhibit hall that they got to go check out every little thing, and then they go over to where the events are going on and they play games. It's a whole different headspace to be in versus sitting at your computer, looking at videos, all the things that we do almost, day to day in our real life these days, even for work now, because that's the way work is almost for most people. So I really thought this was a great analysis of the 2020 convention experience. Ignacy, any comments on that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what you said. What was written in an article. Going to convention is basically going for the adventure. You go to different city, you will visit the new food places, you will meet some people, you will have some adventures on the plane, probably, if you're ignorant.
Yeah.
Like this is an adventure, right? And as you said, sitting at your PC at home, there is no adventure whatsoever. I guess that in the future, in upcoming months and years, if we want still to virtual conventions be alive, I think we need to rebrand them. Like, these are not virtual conventions, because convention is exactly being on this adventure, being in a different city. Like, these are virtual events. Like, we need to put different expectations on this event, and then instead of saying, oh, this is not as fun as going to Indianapolis. No, this is a different beast. It has a different advantages, and if we start treating them that way, we will start enjoying them. At this point, I fully understand that being on a Gen Con in front of the computer has nothing to do in being in Indianapolis, seeing these masses of people, having food from the food truck, etc., etc. This is different experience, absolutely, and we need to understand that.
Right. Let's take one more piece of news for the week. Renegade Game Studios continues its hiring frenzy. Matt Holland has been hired as a sales and marketing manager. Renegade Game Studios has hired Matt Holland to fill the position of sales and marketing manager. Holland has been in the games industry since 2015, starting as a demo team coordinator for Asmodee North America. Later in 2019, he was promoted to become their community coordinator. As community coordinator, he managed the organized play communities for games lines, including X-Wing, Star Wars Destiny, and Legends of the Five Rings. In his position at Renegade, Holland will be in charge of community programs for Renegade's game lines. He will be working on existing Renegade game communities, which include World of Darkness, Power Rangers, Clank deck building game, Kids on Bikes, and Solo Hero series. Excellent news. I mean, Renegade continues to expand at a amazing rate, bringing on some great people, and they're great people. So I'm really happy for their continued success.
Yeah, and if we can once again drop a little bit of knowledge for the fans so they learn a little bit about the industry, this is the part of the news that is important is that you mentioned that he will coordinate the World of Darkness products. We covered the last episode, the Renegade Games covered the rights for tabletop World of Darkness. They just released on Kickstarter Vampire, the card game. And as you know from the old times, great times with CCG games, if you are having a card game that needs a tournament scene, that needs a push in stores and the league and rankings and awards, you need a dedicated person and probably the team of people just to run this one line. Because if you want to release expansions, if you want to run tournaments, if you want to have all these infrastructure, you need people for that. You need a team, and this news shows us that Renegade Games thinks super seriously about World of Darkness and expanding this line. So kudos for them, and this is how you do it. You need to have dedicated people to run this scene.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to our strategy and tactics segment. Marco Boschetto, who's at Jedi One Night. I really enjoy your podcast, and I hope you could do 100 plus more episodes. We are. What do you need? When do you need to choose content creator? When do you need to choose a content creator to review your game copies? I gotta add all the commas here to make sure I understand what he's trying to ask. When do you need to choose a content creator to review your game copies? How do you choose them, except for the obvious ones like Dice Tower and Rada? Okay, so when you need to choose somebody, how do you do that? How do you choose except for the big guys? Do you contact them in advance? How many review copies do you generally send to content creators? It's a good question, and it's a very hard question to answer, actually. And I'll let Ignacy go because he likes the hard questions.
Yeah, over years, of course, the strategy changes. We try different things because we want to be the most efficient possible. At this point, what we do, there is a group of the reviewers, as he mentioned, Dice Tower, Rado, the influential one, the biggest ones. We ship them copies. Don't ask him if they want. We just want them to have the game because there is a chance they will love the game, they will review. So there's a number of reviewers that get my game without even asking me for the game. Then you have a group of reviewers you work on a regular basis. You know that their fan base, their viewers like the type of the game that you are producing, and you are in contact with them, announcing that you are going to release that game. If they want to review it, yes, they want, you send the game. And then there is a ton, and in these days, I mean a ton of smaller podcasters, vloggers, people who have some small blog, and they reach us, and then we discuss them. Either we give them a discount, either we decide something special treatment. So these are like 3 tiers, I would say, of reviewers. The big ones, the medium ones, and the small ones, and each of them has a different treatment from Portal Games. Complex or not that complex?
Not that complex. And I think that, back at Stronghold Indie Boards and Cards, we had a very long list of reviewers. We would send out to various ones, depending on the type of stuff that they have, that they like. But in all cases, you have to prove the number of followers that you have. I mean, that's just important. Obviously, we can't send out an infinite number of copies. It doesn't make any sense. You have to have following. I've coached people many times on, you're new, you have 10 followers, you need to increase that. You need to start working harder on your social media. And when you do, you come back here and then we'll talk again. And some of those people have gone from being nobody to pretty big people. So it's just stay in touch with publishers, have them help you and educate you and bring up your numbers, and then they will get you more copies of games as time goes on. Jonathan Howe, who's at LC Data 1701, Lieutenant Commander Data, there he is. When you get a chance to play a new board game casually, such as game night or downtime at a convention, are you usually teaching the game or being taught? Which way do you prefer to learn a game, regardless of setting? Do you enjoy teaching games even if they aren't ones you've published? I'll go. I mean, I normally get taught games. I'm not a big rules fan. We've talked about that. Reading rules to me makes me crazy. So normally my buds have traditionally learned the rules. My good buddy Chad, he was our rules guy. He would learn them, teach the games. He's really good at doing it, and it would work out great. That's at game nights and things like that. I do enjoy teaching games that I really know well. So like if I know a game cold, yeah, I enjoy teaching it. Like I've taught like Flamme Rouge like 1,000 times because I love the game so much. So I bring it out, when I was with Stronghold, I'd bring it out at conventions. I'm like, hey, let's play this. Oh, I'll teach you this in 5 minutes. Let's do this. And we would play it. So that's my way of doing it, Ignacy.
In 2 cases. At home, I teach my wife Mary. In the office with my pals, they teach me. The funny fact about me teaching how to play the game to my wife Mary, I set up the game, I give her the pieces, and I say we start. She has 0 patience, like 0. She can focus for like 2 seconds, and that's all. So I just give her pieces, and I say I will start the round. I do a move, and then she tries to do something, and when she make a move, I say what happened. So basically, she plays by and learns how to play by experiencing the game. It's quite fun. I think it's quite controversial, but it works at our marriage, so we are happy with that.
Corey Nealon, who's at C. Nealon. He says, first, let me say how much I appreciate your podcast and how your true friendship and passion for the hobby comes through so clearly. You
Thank
two are
you.
such a pleasure and welcome addition to the hobby. Your unique perspectives and knowledge enrich us. And I for one, am thankful for your work. Corey, that $20 is in the mail coming to you. Don't worry. Thank you.
Could it be our next bumper for the next podcast?
Have Corey say this. That'd be great. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Those words are really mean something to both of us. Thank you so much. On to the question. I don't want to pry, but I have a wife and daughter who enjoy playing board games with me. I am blessed. My wife's favorite game is Terraforming Mars. Excellent. Do either of you have such luck to have family significant others to play games with? And what are their favorite games to play with, each of you? So yeah, Ignacy, of course, you play games with Mary all the time, right?
I'm very, very happy that Mary became a fan of board games. The first game she played when I was trying to convince her to this hobby was Catan. She hated it. She said she will never play board games. It's stupid and she doesn't like it. And I was devastated and I begged her, please try one more different game. Please give me one more chance. She agreed for one more chance. So she said very clearly, one try. So I knew the gravity of the choice. And I picked Cash and Guns. Party game Cash and Guns. Steven knows Mary very well, so he understood that it was a good pick. Like she immediately took a gun, started pointing at me, at other players. It was a lot of fun, and she said, "Okay, games can be fun. I can play next."
Party games are always the way to go when you have non-gamers. You bring out some fun, and there are good ones, there are bad ones, of course, but there's so many good party games, and I love party games, and that's the way to really, crack the edge open. And then once they like that social interaction, you go a little bit of more of like a competitive thing, a ticket to ride type thing or something like that. So just you get them in, you slowly bring them in. For me, Paula and I play games, of course. We have talked here about our Gloomhaven campaign that we're still in the middle of.
Middle. I don't believe it. You're in the middle. Come on, this campaign is too huge to be in the middle.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, no. I mean, we're scratching the surface of it. Really, there's so much content to unlock. We're amidst it. Let's put it that way. We're playing out Pathfinder games still over the internet without my friends from New Jersey. So yes, I can say I'm blessed to have a gamer here at the household too, and it's great. And even if you don't people out there, use the what Ignacy's just said to try to do, and what I'm mentioning. You start out slowly, and you make it nice and social and fun. And if you got to apply them with a little bit of an alcoholic beverage too, that might help too. Piotr Dolny, who's at Neil Doppel on Board Game, he says, "Hi, Ignacy and Steven. I have a question about publishing old games. For example, originally published about a few years ago. If you would start to publish a series of games like Realms, Cthulhu, Star, Hero, or Zombicide." Okay, I know Zombicide. I'm not sure what else he's going with there. But if you would start to publish a series of games, which is available in a foreign language and has a few versions, would you start from the first game and then expand it to the whole series, depending on sales?
I think I get it. So okay. I think that he means that at the very beginning there was Star Realms, then there was a Hero Realms, then there was a Cthulhu Realms, or with Zombicide there was Zombicide Black Plague, Zombicide Green Horde, Zombicide Invader. And if you as a publisher are looking at the whole line of games, are you getting the newest one or the first one, or you are choosing the one as a publisher that you want? I don't know if you were, when you were licensing games for America, if you were in such a situation that the publisher had a whole line of games or series and you were picking the order. For us, for example, for Zombicide, we were picking the one that is the newest because there is a hype for it, because the game has the biggest buzz, because it was released right now. And then if the game catches up, if this game is successful, we can look at the back catalog of the series and bringing the older games, because the newest one has legs, to bring the whole line to Poland. So what we do in Poland, we look at the newest one and see if it is enough popular to bring the older ones.
Right. So I see where you're going. This is a series of games that are still going. They're still
Yep,
out there.
yep. And if you want to
And
start from the beginning or from the end of the line.
pick right, right. I get it. Pick right. I agree with you. You pick the buzz, and then you see how that goes, and then you'll backtrack and bring back the base game, and then you'll keep going. Yeah, 100% agree with that strategy for this kind of scenario where there's still a big buzz, like on the latest and greatest. Now, I didn't have any of this situation where we were, at Stronghold, where we can go back and forth, sort of.
But one other example, for example,
Yep.
we do Aeon's End with you, with Travis, and with Aeon's End, we started with the base game of Aeon's End because the Aeon's End, the New Age, and Aeon's End, the War Eternal are the new rules, new mechanism, and we didn't want to confuse players. So we started, okay, the line is strong. There's a couple of games in the line, but let's start with the basic one and see what happens. And the game became hugely popular in Poland, and we are doing another one. So with Aeon's End, we went for the simplest one, for example.
That's a great way of doing it. Because you want to get the base core rules for everybody, and then you
in
can
the market,
move forward.
Right?
Yeah, and then of course you're testing the whole waters there, right? So that's one where I can see where you go in reverse. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm not sure if Peter here is actually a publisher, and maybe he's thinking about doing a little bit, or he's just interested. But that's a really good question on how you would gauge it. But your two examples there are perfect. All right, that's good for our questions for this week. Let's go on to our play testing segment where we question you.
How's my grammar today?
I changed it already. Don't worry.
Thank you. My questions to our listeners and to Steven is, what is your New Year's resolution, and is it still going well for you? And we are recording on January 10th.
We are recording on January 10th, and I did mention at the top of the show that I was going to be nice to Tom, but that was a joke, of course, which I will never be nice. Only on the day of his daughter's wedding, then I was nice to him. So I don't usually make New Year's resolutions because I set myself up for failure, especially if they're hard, like I'm going to lose weight or something like that, and
why bother?
Yeah. I'm just going to be disappointed. But as I read your question here before the show, I said, well, there's something sort of to bring up. We never talk about politics. We never talk about politics here, of course. And I never talk about them publicly in any way.
Interesting topics lately.
And there's been certainly some interesting things that have happened in the last week in the United States. But it was a very hard week for everybody here and potentially a lot of people across the world. But when I looked at that and I thought about the things that have happened recently and the way that I handled my own psyche and maybe the way that I've given back a little bit over the last year, is that I have always remained very positive on not, of course, the current situation. It's not positive. COVID is not positive. The political situation in this country is not positive. But with the thought that the future is going to be positive, with the thought that we are going to turn the curve on these things, that we're going to have a better political environment, where we're going to have a environment of social vaccination. The vaccinations are going to happen, and we're going to get better, and we're going to get back together, and we're going to see each other at conventions. So my New Year's resolution is essentially to remain positive, even in the face of some very negative things. Stay that way. You got to be a realist, of course. You got to realize the gravity of stuff. I could use a worse word that is going on in the world, and the number of deaths from COVID and cases, 20,000 cases 2 days in a row in Florida alone. In my state, 20,000 each day, new cases. Horrible. But to think that we're going to turn these corners, to keep that in mind, that things will get better. I'm staying positive, and I'm going to stay and continue to try to project positivity going forward in 2021. Ignacio, what's your New Year's resolution, if you have one?
I'm thinking with you, man. This is incredible, because my New Year resolution was that I will whine less. I will be complaining less, because in this half an hour podcast or 40-minute podcast, it may be funny, but if you imagine my wife Mary living with me and I'm always complaining, it must be terrible. And I think I'm a terrible person to live with. And my New Year's resolution was, Ignacy, stop complaining all day long, sometimes smile. And I'm doing my best to be more positive these days. We will see at the end of the year if I smiled enough. So
That's
positive in Poland, positive in Florida.
That's great. So positivity is going to be the New Year's resolution for the two of us. And what's your New Year's resolution, everybody out there? Please let us know, because right now Ignacy is putting a thread up on our guild on Board Game Geek where we ask you the same question. What is your New Year's resolution? And is it still going strong for you as of today, which will only be like, 13 days into the new year. So hopefully it's still going. Let us know how it's going for you. Let's go right now to the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts. To ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, you must post them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek. To answer our question to you from our playtesting segment, also go to our guild on Board Game Geek and look for the thread with this episode's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so please like us on the Facebook page. Also, on Facebook, please like Ignacy's page and Steven's page, which is /Portal Publishing and /Podfather Gaming. Our websites, portalgames.pl, portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com. Go there, sign up for the newsletters to get up-to-the-minute information on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, come speak directly to Ignacy and Steven. Twitter is @PortalGamesUS and @PodfatherGaming. Same on Instagram and on YouTube. The channels are Portal Games Movies, Portal Games Gameplays, there's a lot of game in there, and the Podfather of Gaming. We hope desperately to see you this year at an upcoming convention, and I am confident that is going to happen. Not only is that positive, I'm making bets with people that things are going to happen. And I'm going to use some predictions in our predictions episode. Oh, by the way, the predictions episode, Ignacy, start working on it. We got to do it.
Next
I
week?
want to do it next. I want to do it next week. Start working on it. You think you'll be able to do it?
Yep.
All right. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. If you'd like him to edit your podcast, please contact him on Twitter or on email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Ignacy, you got some special things to talk about, don't you?
I have a PortalCon in my mind, so for all of you who are listening to our podcast, special info at PortalCon. Besides announcing many expansions to our games, I will announce 3 new titles, and one of them has a code name in our office, a bomb. That means when we announce it, it's like dropping a bomb. I hope you will love it. We're all excited, and we cannot wait for our fans to hear the news about this one of these titles. So stay tuned. As I mentioned, 23rd of January, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, half an hour event with at least one big bomb.
Wow.
Cannot wait. Yep.
Love it. I love that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.